Hello everyone, I'm MVL, and in this video we're going to be taking a look at a comic book haul I've picked up recently. I got this from eBay and it was £16 for this big box of comics we're going to go through in this video. The postage was only £6, so overall this was a great deal. It's full of 2000 AD and Marvel comics. I'm very excited about this. I've been a collector of 2000 AD in the 90s and the Panini reprints of the American Marvel comics and the DC as well, and I'm very hyped to grab this box and get into it. It was a great deal. Unfortunately, as you're about to see, the box was not delivered in the best condition. Now, as you can see, there is a massive tear in the side of the box. It was dropped off at my doorstep and I wasn't even aware it was there because the doorbell wasn't rung and it could have got rained on, but it was ripped open. And from what I can tell, because you can see inside of the box from the rip, that the comics have not been put in any protective measures whatsoever. I didn't expect for the price that I got it to be in, you know, individually bubble wrapped, but I kind of expected them to at least have been, you know, overall put in a plastic bag or thing, but it seems like the comics are just loose in this thing. So hopefully they're in good enough condition. Like I said, 2000 AD, which features Judge Dredd and Marvel Comics. Loads of that stuff in here. Looks like a bunch, so that's going to be really cool to go through them. Hopefully they're not all destroyed. Hopefully they're in good condition. We're going to take a look at this. Before we begin though, I thought it might be interesting for me to show you how I store my comics. I used to keep my comics in my garage, and that wasn't great for them, but thankfully I've started bagging and boarding them and putting them in boxes as of late. And I'm going to show you that just before we begin to open up the box and take a look at stuff, because I thought that might be interesting. So, I use different bags and boards for different things. For Marvel Comics, here is a recent Marvel comic. This is the Panini reprint, I should say. And this is Deadpool and Wolverine. It is paperback. And I use these bags and boards I'm going to show you with just a moment. But here's the Deadpool and Wolverine. And the old versions of Panini used to have a harder cover. They were a little bit more hardy, but around about the same size. And again, I use these bags and boards. And I'll show you what I use with these as well. And that is these Silver Age bags and boards from Comic Concept. Now these are just really cheap. They're not resealable, but I use resealable stickers on them, which I'll show you in a moment as well. I use the Silver Age for the bags and the boards, and that just gives them a little bit more wiggle room. And that's what I use. They're pretty good. And for the boxes on those, I actually use these boxes right here. These are really useful storage boxes. And these are 19L A4 size. You can actually get a little bit taller ones of these, 19XL, I believe. And then you can fit a little more. These fit pretty much exact in these things. And they're very useful. I like using these for my Marvel-sized comics. So there's that, and DC as well. For 2000 AD, here's a recent 2000 AD. Now 2000 AD changed size a lot. There's at least 3 different sizes, but these are the modern ones. This is the Sci-Fi Special. As you see, there's a little bit of extra room in here, but I'm fine with that as long as they are safely bagged and boarded. And there's that. And here is a older one, which as you can see is a lot bigger. I use the same size board, but I use a different bag for these. So the bags I use for the more modern ones going forward is, again, Comic Concept. These are magazine bags, UK sized. Now they're American sized and UK sized, and they're different sizes. I use the UK size. These are a little bit bigger. Bags and boards I use for this. And for the older comics, some of those are a little bigger, and I use these collector line bags, and they're a very specific size right there. And I use these for some of the older comics and some really like thick comics. I use those for. And then on the back, I use these Avery resealable labels, so I can take off the stickers on the back and put them back on again with relative ease. Anyway, that's what I use. I also use these mag size boxes for 2000 AD. Alright, so with that out of the way, let's get started here. Now the only thing I've done to this box is remove the labels on it. Other than that, I've left it as it is. And it looks like a lot of these comics have survived the trip miraculously, because taking a look at this, they are just in there as it is. They have just been thrown in there, so it's kind of miraculous that they are okay as it is. Now there's a couple of dog ears to the comics at the bottom here, but overall it doesn't look like any probably fell out of this thing during transit. It looks like they're probably all fine, which is pretty impressive considering they're in no packaging whatsoever. Alright, I see Judge Dredd. Let's take a look at the first one here. We have this one here. First issue of Judge Dredd, Lawman of the Future. Now this looks to be in pretty good shape. The back is a little bit beat up, but considering how this was packaged, I'm very happy about that. On the back of this we see an advertisement for some double-sided poster. We also see some X-Files there as well. Very telling of the time. And this is an old issue of 2000 AD. Nice. This is episode 1024. Now this series has been going a very long time. When they started this series, 2000 AD seemed pretty futuristic. We're here at the time of this video in 2024. You know what? I still love it. So there's the front of this one. Prog 1024. There's the back with the X-Files on it. Scully there. That one is a little bit damaged. I can tell the spine has come away a little bit, where the staples might have come out, but other than that, it's pretty good. Here we have Prog 966. This is great. These are definitely some issues that I'm missing in my collection. I'll use my comic book app, CLZ Comics, to scan these in, so I make sure I don't get doubles, but there's a lot here that I don't have. There's the back with Killer Instinct on it. Great game. CLZ Comics, by the way, a fantastic app to keep track of your comic book collection. Here we have Prog 967 with Rogue Trooper on the front there. This is really cool. I can't believe most of these are in as good condition as they are, considering how they were sent to me. And like I said, this is a fantastic bargain. I paid £16 and £6 for postage. Alright, here we have Prog 968. And there's the back of that as well. Dr. Jekyll and Ms. Hyde being advertised on the back. I love the advertisements on the back of these comics, by the way. It makes you want to get clear backing boards so you can see the back of the comics as well. But I do have those resealable stickers, so I can take them out when I want to read them. Here we have 969. Nice. There's the back of that as well, same advertisement. Here we have 974, 2000 AD. Judge Dredd on the cover. There's the back of that as well. I love the art style of this time as well. Here we have, right, this is more the era that I started collecting 2000 AD from. This is the in-between size, what most of these boxes over here will be filled of. So I collected this for many years, and I mostly have these, so I might already have this. This is 1034. And there's the back with Nikolai Dante, who was a very popular character of the time. I'm going to put that aside so I know, have them in the eras that they are. Here we have Judge Dredd, Lawman of the Future. This is number 14. That's awesome. I don't have any of this comic, Lawman of the Future. So that's very cool. I'm already super excited about this. Alright. 1050 here. Judge Dredd on the cover. There's the back of that. Put that in that pile over there. Alright, next up we have 1042. And again, I'm so impressed that these are in the condition that they are. I have some Judge Dredd magazine as well in my collection, so I'll be interested to see if there's any of that in here. Here's Judge Dredd Lawman of the Future. Again, this is issue number 7. There's the back of that. Mega Drive games, Street Racer. Love the Mega Drive. That's what we call what Americans will know as the Genesis over here in Europe. Here's Lawman of the Future, issue number 8, with Judge Dredd on the front. Mega Drive advertisement on the back again. Here we have Lawman of the Future number 9. I can feel from touching the paper that some of these will need a little bit of a clean. I use makeup pads to take off a lot of the surface dirt, and if there's anything really bad I'll use a rubber on it. But I don't go as far as to do any drastic methods of cleaning myself. I just want them in readable condition. Here's 2000 AD 971. Again, I have to remark on the fact that these are in stupendously good condition, considering these genuinely all just were thrown in a box. I have to imagine when we get down to the bottom and we have some of these ones that are, you know, loose in here, they might be in a little worse shape. Here we have 1055. Like I said, most of my collection, the bulk of my collection started around this period, where they were this size, before we have what is the modern shape of them now. But I do collect the modern ones as well. But I may have this one. I'll have to see when I add it to my CLZ Comics app to see what I have and what I don't have. But this will definitely fill in some gaps, especially with the older stuff in my collection. Here's 2000 AD 970. There's the back of that. Killer Instinct again featured. Alright, we have issue 1039. The back of this has some cosplay. That's cool. Very cool there. We've got Durham Red, the vampire, and Rogue Trooper being played by some ladies on the back here. It's very cool. Again, it's the sort of thing that wants me to have clear backing boards, but I do use resealable stickers on the back of my bag so I can take them out anyway. Here is Lawman of the Future number 6. And there's the back of that one. I can feel that this is going to need a little bit of a clean on it from touching the paper, but it might be surface dirt. Feels that way, just a little bit of surface dirt. Here's Lawman of the Future. This is number 2. And I'm going to have a good set of these. I did not grab these when they were around, so it's very cool to get these. There were a lot of comics outside of the main 2000 AD series, so that's very cool. Here we have Lawman of the Future number 3. There's the back of that. Images from the movie with Sylvester Stallone. I have the comic adaptation of that movie actually. Here's a Lawman of the Future number 4. There's the back of that. Mega Drive advertisement as well. Here is episode 1043. Prog 1043 I should say. There's 3 X-Men trading cards. X-Files trading cards rather. They're probably not in here, but that's fine. It's a comic I want really. Here is 986. There's the back of that. The comic on this one continues all the way to the back. Alright, here is 980 with an extra included on this one. There's the back of that. Meatloaf, Bat Out of Hell on the back. There is 961. See Durham Red on the back, not to be mistaken with Blood Rain. There's Street Fighter 2 on the back of this one. I'm so happy about this, I have to say. A lot of these are in great shape. There's 962, Slain on the cover of this one, not to be confused with Conan the Barbarian. There's the back of that one. Alright, here is 963 with Judge Dredd on the front. And there's the back of that one. Here is 964. And there's the back of that one. Here's 965. There's the back. Remarkable that these weren't all destroyed. Here's Lawman of the Future. It is dog-eared, but I can probably straighten that out. You know, put it in the bag and board, put these flat, and it'll probably be fine. It's number 5. There's the back of that. With Casper and cornflakes, breakfast cereal. Here is 1051. Sinister Dexter there. There's the back of that. Again, I'll have to scan these in my comic book app. The app, by the way, CLZ Comics, very useful, stops me buying the same thing more than once. This is 1022, especially when you're going for like a full set, for example. And they do one for movies and stuff like that as well. Alright, 1031 here. There's the back. Here is, this is an X-Files comic, issue 11. Still cool to have it. Not something I currently collect. I picked up a bunch of Buffy comics recently. Buffy and Angel. I got a massive stack of Buffy and Angel comics for £10. Not quite as good a haul as this, but I got a big haul of Buffy and Angel comics recently. And I might end up collecting that soon. So that was something I was really interested in, actually. The Buffy and Angel comics continued the story after the TV series ended. So that's something I'll get into. So I picked up, yeah, a bunch of those for like £10 at a charity shop a while ago. And yeah, you never know, I might get into X-Files comics. Here is issue 1030. There's the back of that. The Phantom. Alright. Here is, I think I have this one, 1023. I think I have this one. This might be a condition upgrade though, strangely enough, considering how it was sent. There's the back of it. Here is 1001. I might have this one as well. Durham Red on the front here. I think I recognise the artwork from the cover. There's the back. $3000 AD here. I'm pretty sure this was an extra that came with one of the other comics, and I think I have it. There you go. There's the back of that. 995 here. Look at that cover. Looks like a heavy metal album. Awesome. There's the back. This one, the comic continues to the back. Here is 996. And I'm super pleased to see this. Star Trek Klingon. This was a full motion video game with point and click aspects on the PC. Ran on DOS. And I believe 95 and 98, Windows 95 and 98. There was Star Trek Borg, which I loved, which had Q, the character from Star Trek, and it was based around Wolf 359 when the Borg attacked the Federation in Starfleet. If you are a Trek fan, you will know what I'm talking about, Star Trek. And Star Trek Borg only ran on Windows 95, I think. You can get it to work on things like DOSBox, which is a program that allows old PC games to work on DOS, but yeah, I love that. I'm super pleased to see that on the back of that, actually. Here we have 997. There's the back of that. The comic continues on the back of that one. Here is 953. This one is quite beat up. It's got quite a bend in it. Still good to have it. There's the back with the full art. Quite bent, but again, I think this is very savable. As long as none of the pages are stuck together or anything like that, it's still very savable. Here we have 1060. There's the back of that one. Looks like the artwork continues around the back on this one. This one again has like a little bit of damage to it. But I don't think any of the pages are stuck together. So, again, this should be savable if I don't have it. If I do have some stuff, then I will just move them along to a comic book shop. And that's that. Here's 975. There's the back. Yeah, any doubles I have will either be condition upgrades or they'll go to a local comic book shop. And they'll get put into collector's hands at some point. 982 here. I was super surprised that the auction I paid for was an auction. It wasn't a buy it now. So it was just from 0 to whatever, and I'm super surprised no one bid on this stuff. Maybe it was because they feared it would arrive in how it did, but I definitely got a great deal. Here's 972. There's the back of that. Getting a big stack of old comics here, so I'm happy to see that. Here is 973. Jaws-esque. There's the back of that. Here is 1047. Do you know what's kind of funny about this? Despite how badly these were sent to me, I think they're still in better condition than the ones I stored in my garage way back. So that's something for you. Definitely put your stuff in boxes and bags and boards, even if you're going to read it like I do, because it just protects it. Here's 1049. This one, it feels like it's come loose the spine, like one of the other ones has, but for the amount that has come here, it's definitely, I'm still on the up here. I'm still on an upswing. Here is 1033. This would have had a replica of the first issue. Interesting. I hope that extra is still in here somewhere. That'll be cool, because I was super excited about that. One thing about British comics is, especially when you're looking at what should be in here, some of the Marvel comics, the Panini Marvel UK comics, completely worthless for collectibles. The people that want this sort of stuff, there's a little bit of a sticker on this that'll have to be removed. Alright, there was a little bit of sellotape on this one. I've removed it, but I'm going to put it away from the other comics in case it's sticky. I don't want it to get stuck to them, and I will clean that properly later. But yes, when we get to the Marvel, I suspect these will be the Panini UK reprints, so they're worthless. People that collect originals or key issues are not really interested in reprints at all. And it's a similar thing with the 2000 AD it's not as sought after as, let's say, Marvel or DC comics. So even like the first issue is not that expensive, and older issues are pretty cheap, but for the most part, all of these comics are really cheap, so it's a really good thing to collect. Here's 998. There's the back of that one. Here is 994. There's the back of that one. These ones, it looks like the bulk of them has protected them from any damage. Here's 993. I'm quite surprised that the paper hasn't rolled off the spine or broken the staples, considering how it was delivered. But it looks like they're all pretty much fine. Here's 992. There's the back of that one. And here is 991. There's the back of that one. Here we have 990. I'm glad to see that a lot of these are filling gaps here as well. Here's Toy Story as well on the back. The game. Oh, I see Slain here. This is 1040. There's the back. Heavy Metal advertised on the back of that. Here is 1038. Again, these ones from this border I might have. Pretty sure I have this one, 1037. It looks familiar to me. Some of the artwork I remember. We have Judge Death on the back there. Enemy of Judge Dredd. Here is 1036. This is supposed to have a supplement with it. I think I might have this one as well. Like I said, this border style, I'm likely to have it. Here's the Havoc. I think this is supposed to go with that. So I might be missing the supplement with my other one. This looks a lot like Warhammer. A tabletop war game. I'll keep those together. Here is 1025. There's the back of that, advertising the same tabletop war game. This one's supposed to come with X-Files trading cards, it looks like, 1014, but they're not there. It's not a big deal. It's a comic I'm after. There's the back of that. That one feels a little dirty, but they can be cleaned. Here's 1011. There's the back of that. Alright, here is 1010, 1010. There's the back. Here is 1009. There's the back of that. Here is 1008. I can see that there's some wrapping here, so either some of these were covered or one of the extras is still sealed here. We shall see. What is this? The X Factor. Cover-ups, paranormal mysteries, unidentified flying objects. I have to imagine this was supposed to come with the X-Files thing we had earlier. I'm going to put that over there. Actually, here we go, another X-Files. Mulder and Scully there, the characters. This is issue 1. Nice. Don't know anything about these, but it's cool. Might start a collection on that. Here is 1012. There's the back. Here's the one that still has some sealing on it. Is Prog 1000. There's supposed to be a 16-page supplement. Is it still here? Doesn't look like it. Looks like it's been removed. Nevertheless, still in the seal though. I won't keep the seal, but you know, It's cool to see it in there. Shame the supplement's not in there anymore though. Here is 1045. I wonder if that's Judge Anderson there getting changed. There's the back. Here is 1032, and I'm very excited because I caught a glimpse of the next one. Speaking of this, look what it is. It's a 16-page replica of the original. Now I can feel from the paper this is really dirty, so it's going to need a clean. But that's really cool. I wanted this quite a lot. That's awesome. A replica of the first issue. Dan Dare. Alright, put that aside because it needs cleaning. Here we have 999. Problems, but a lot of comics isn't one of them. That barely works. That is super confusing. It's 999, but there's an advertisement for Prog 1000 on the back of it. I got confused for a moment there. That's funny. Because it had the same layout. Here's 989. It's a little dirty, I can tell. But otherwise, good to have it. Great art on the back there. Here is 1058. And here is 1054 with Men in Black on the back. This is Lawman of the Future, and this is number 10. I think that's Dredd and Anderson there. There's the back. Here's another Lawman of the Future. And this is number 12. The numbers are in different places. Sometimes they're down here and sometimes they're up here. Killer Instinct on the back of that. Here's another Lawman of the Future, number 11. Time the number was here. The format changed a lot, the presentation changed a lot on these comics over the years, or sometimes between issues. On the top here, number 13. Unlucky for some. Not for me though, this is a pretty good haul, I would say. Killer Instinct. Alright. I think that the ones on the side here are the X-Men ones. And I think they might be original ones rather than the Panini reprints, because they are paperback, and the original Panini runs, to my knowledge, had a harder cover, so we'll see. It's Prog 959 here. There's the back. Here we have 1021 as the Dreamer character. And there's the back of that one. Looks like Slain on the front of this one. 1007. There's the back. This is quite a massive stack of these. I'm not sure how many we've been through thus far, but man, that's a lot of those ones that I don't have for sure. Here is 1006. I might have this one. Some of the older issues I did pick up from comic book shops after the fact. Here is 1005. Alright, here is 1004. It's 1003. Now the upsetting thing about this is, if these are in the order that they are, that means the oldest ones would be at the bottom, and they're probably the ones that are the most damaged, unfortunately. Here's 1002, assuming the order continues as it has. There's the back of that one. Here is 954. Of course, they've been out of sequence as it is, not numerically, so maybe not. Here's 976. There's the back of that one. Here is 988. There's the back of that one. Here's 978. There's the back. And here is 1027. There's the back. That was slain on the back. Alright, I'm going to move these comics slightly. These are the Marvel ones. I just don't want them to get damaged as I'm taking some of the other ones out. Here is 985. Moving these aside so I can get to these ones a little easier. We'll have the Marvel ones at the end. Alright, here we have 983. There's the back of that one. Page is turned up here a little bit, but I can sort that out. Here we have 1057. There's the back. And here is 1048. There's the back of that one. Mario Kart 64, nice! Love that game. I'm pretty sure I have this one. 1044. It has Babylon 5 postcards, and they're on the back. I don't know if this will be better conditioned than my previous one, but I do have this one. But that's cool. There's the cover. It's more the era that I was collecting. Here's 1046. This one's ripped on the back. But not terribly. It's not terribly ripped. It's just a little rip. Sometimes I do stuff like that when I'm taking comics home, even when I'm very careful. So it's not that bad. Here is 1052. There's the back. We're getting towards the end of the 2000 ADs now, it looks like. Here's 1041. I mean, there's still a stack of them, which is really cool. But we'll be on to the Marvel comics shortly. Here is 1053. This one is a bit messed up because it's got a crease or a fold in the seam here. Babylon 5 advertised on the back. Love that show. Again, I can't complain for the price. Considering 955 here, most of these came in good condition, which I'm very surprised at considering the delivery. I know I've remarked on that a lot, but it really is quite remarkable. Here's 1029. This one again has a little bit of damage to it. Same deal here. You can probably see where the spine has come off a little bit. That's the sort of thing I'm talking about. It's a shame, but most of these seem okay. Here's 1028. And there's the back of that. Here is 960. There's the back. Great artwork on the back of this one. Here is 1015. It's got an art print with it. There's the back. Better look at the cover. Nice. Alright, this one is very damaged. It is 958. And it is pretty beat up here. So that's pretty significant. It's not destroyed. I think you could flatten this out. But the staples have definitely come away from the sides here. It's in pretty bad shape, as you can see, but it's not surprising considering how it was packaged. But there's that. 158. Better than not having it. Here is 956. There's the back of it. I'm actually really surprised how few of these have been completely destroyed. I'm just going to put this one elsewhere because it's going to need some love and care. Here is 1035. There's the back. Yeah, I'm pretty sure I damaged more of this in my collection just having them in the wrong place. So we've got some X-Men here. I can see that they're pretty damaged, but I'll show those last. As a matter of fact, I will take out the X-Men comics here from the box so I can get to the other stuff. Here we have a Havoc insert. I think this came with one of the other 2000 ADs we saw earlier. So I'll put that there. Here's a Mortal Kombat comic, number 8. Some cool comic series out there. I've got some stuff like Alien and stuff like that I don't have very big runs of in my collection, but I'd certainly like to grab more. Here's another X-Files one. I was mostly expecting 2000 AD and Marvel, so it's interesting to get some of these other stuff here. This is just a magazine, the world's most paranormal magazine. So there you go. That's not a comic book, but it's still cool. Same deal here. Issue 4, this one is. Here is 952 or 2000 AD. We'll do the Marvel stuff last. Save it till last. Here is 951 2000 AD. Here is 1013. Here is 984. Reaching right down to the bottom here, we have 957. Great artwork on this one. Is a little damaged now I'm looking at it. You can see here the page has been a bit folded, but that's not terrible. Here is 981 with Sinister Dexter on the front. Here is 1026. There's the back. Here is 1020. A lot of these are remarkably well conditioned. Here is 1019. Definitely, there's only been a couple that have been very bad. Here is 1018. When you just throw these in a box like this, I'm super surprised to see them in this good shape. We got another art print on this one, and it is 1017. Let's better look at the cover. Or not, it looks like it is stuck to the front there. Yeah, there's a little something sticky here. I'm going to try and get rid of that. Alright, that last comic had a little bit of sticky residue on it, which was probably to attach the insert. So that'll have to be cleaned up, obviously. This one seems fine. And that was 1016. Here's 1059. And here is 1061. Alright, I see an X-Men comic next. And it is number 18. And it's in some sort of like binder sleeve. Here's the front of that and the back. It's in some sort of protective sleeve that only covers the cover of it, which is kind of interesting. I'm not sure why you do this instead of using bags and boards, but it's kind of cool. At least that one's okay. It's really interesting. I've seen people put pocket pages on comics before, but I haven't seen this before. It's interesting. Alright, I'm going to put that over here, first of the X-Men comics. Next is issue 20. And here's the back. Casper comic advertised. Here is a summer special for X-Men. Got more X-Men comics that I took out as well. We'll show those in a moment. There's the back. With Spider-Man on the back. Here's another one in one of those cover protectors, I'm going to call them. Issue 19. There's the back of this. Here's a Mortal Kombat comic, number 7. There's the back of it. Now the listing of this listed it as 2000 ADs and Marvel Comics, so it suggested there might be more Marvel Comics, but I'm not disappointed. 979, as I got so many Marvel here, so many 2000 AD here rather, that I can't really be put out on getting less Marvel. Here is 987, 2000 AD as well. This one is a little bit damaged, it was at the bottom. There's the back. And here is 977, last of the 2000 ADs, I think. Not terrible condition considering this was like right at the bottom. Alright, and now we no longer need this massive box here. Let's take a look at those Marvel comics that were last up. So this one, number 16, it's really badly damaged. This is a massive crease. It can probably be saved though, so it's not terrible. Like, it'll flatten out. It's not like it's completely broken, so it's not the worst. Looks like there was a free card here that is gone. Here's another one with a protector on it. These ones are in much better shape. 17. 1995. This was from. I'm less clued in to the Marvel comics. It looks like this one, yes, the actual comic has nearly broken off of the staples. So this looks like an American comic to me. Power Rangers on the back. Came with a free bookmark originally. Here's Paratruller X, another Marvel comic. See Storm on the front there. There's the back. That one looks really cool. Over here in the UK, we of course got the Panini reprints, at least at the time I was getting them. If you wanted American comics, you would have to go to a dedicated comic book store. And this next one is pretty damaged, pretty beat off the spine. It is a Spider-Man comic. Spider-Man Adventures, based on the animated series. This is the 2nd of January. And this is definitely American because it says $1.50 US rather than pennies on the front. or pounds. But yes, I would get my comics from newsagents, and for that, pretty much, it was get the sometimes DC but mostly Marvel Panini reprints. This one has what looks to be a price sticker on it actually, and that's left a bit of sticky residue there, so that's going to need a clean. And 2000 AD, of course, is a British comic, so I was able to get that. This is X Factor with Mystique on the front. It looks like it's been taped on the back. It also looks like somebody has put a price on it. Now you might be able to, if that's pencil, get it off with a eraser, but I probably wouldn't recommend it because you'll probably take off some of the colour. But yeah, this one, the spine is obviously broken, it's been taped back together, but it's still better to have it than to not have it. Mantis on the back there. So yes, I mostly got what was available in the newsagents to me, which was, of course, 2000 AD, being a British comic, and the Panini reprint, so I have fond memories of that. And I'm still collecting it now. 20, 30 years later. Here's X-Men. Number 32, there's the back of that one. So I think these must be American X-Men. I do have some American comics, some DC and some Marvel American comics. So I will collect whatever I can get my hands on. Same with video games, I collect any video games I can get my hands on, really. Here's the Uncanny X-Men. This one's also not in the best shape. Now a lot of these, this one's in really bad shape actually. You can tell it is, hey, Battletoads on the back there. The paper is really messed up. Most of these X-Men, unfortunately, maybe because they were smaller than the 2000 ADs, the 2000 ADs were packed pretty much as they are now, flat, but the X-Men were packed on their side in the box to make up the space. So I think that's why the X-Men have got the worst of the wear. Here's Paratruller X again. $152. There's the back of it. The Amazing Spider-Man. Couple more Marvel here, and then we'll be done by the looks of it. X-Men here. Number 12. There's the back with Captain America. Here is Cable. There's the back of that one. These ones aren't in such bad shape actually, these ones right here. Here's Paratruller X. This is 149, if that's right. Star Trek The Next Generation on the back of it. Here is Wolverine. See She-Hulk in the corner there. And there's the back of that one. Now they did this sometimes actually. They printed half of the comic one way up and then half of it the other way up because it was easier to put it together that way. So it might look weird, but they did that a lot at one point. Wolverine, here's another X-Men. Got with a lot of different heroes. Even on the Panini reprints, Wolverine appeared with Hulk, Gambit, and recently Deadpool. This is X-Men Deluxe. 318 it says on it. Mantis advertisement back as well. And then the last one, the Uncanny X-Men. X-Men Deluxe 320. And there you have it. That's quite a lot of comics in this haul. I certainly got my money's worth. There you go, my friends. So I've sorted them out, and there's over 100 comics here that I got for £16 in total. I've also figured out which issues came with which extras. So that extra came with that one. That extra came with that one, which I think I already have. And then the one over here has an extra as well. So there we go. I also looked into this, and obviously we had the X-Men comics, but we also had some X-Men comics in a different language, which was kind of interesting. That's kind of cool. But for the most part, Most of these comics are in pretty good shape. Obviously, one or two of them were pretty bad. None of them were actually destroyed. Obviously, some of them were missing the extras, but some of them did have the extras. So overall, this was a really good haul for £16. There's over 100 comics here. I'm really happy with this. So that's pretty awesome. Now that I've gone through and sorted them, these are numerically ordered now. Most of these ones are, let's say, 1,000 up, and most of these I already have, so that's this right box here. And with these ones that I already had, there'll be some condition upgrades, which is nice, so that's good to have. But most of these, pre-1000, I didn't have, and that's a lot, so that's really cool. Glad to have that. And yeah, this was an excellent deal. So there you have it. Wow, I certainly got my money's worth with this lot. Massive stack of 2000 AD there. Some Lawman of the Future, Judge Dredd, that was really cool. And some odds and ends from some other comic book series and stuff like that as well. Man, this was a really good deal. Paid £16 for it, £6 of postage. Again, some of it was damaged in the post. Some of it was probably damaged to begin with, to be fair. But I think I got an absolutely great deal, and I'm really happy to pick this up. Man, what a great haul. Well, what do you think? Let me know in the comments. If you like the video, be sure to leave a like or comment to let me know what you think. And don't forget to subscribe for more awesome content. And if you'd like to, you can also support me through Patreon or YouTube channel membership. Thank you for watching. I've been MVL, and I will catch you next time.